Hare Krishna. Welcome to the narration of Ṣaṭ-tilā Ekādaśī from the Bhaviṣya-uttara Purāṇa. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ṣaṭ-tilā Ekādaśī. Dalbhya Rishi said to Pulastya Muni, when the spirit soul comes in contact with the material energy, he immediately begins to perform sinful activities, such as stealing, killing, and illicit sex. He may even perform many other terrible deeds, such as killing a Brahmana. O purest of personalities, please tell me how these unfortunate souls may escape the punishment of being sent to hellish regions of creation. Kindly inform me how, by giving even a little in charity, one may be easily released from the reactions of his sins. So this is how the Ekadashi narration begins. It is different from most Ekadashi. Generally, the Ekadashi stories are told by Lord Sri Krishna himself to Maharaj Yudhishthira. Here, it is Dalbhya Rishi speaking to Pulastya Muni. Basically, he's inquiring from Pulastya Muni. So he's speaking about the conditioned souls in this material world. All of the souls in the material world are conditioned by the police force of the Lord, material energy, which acts separately and non-separately from the Lord, just like as police force. All the laws and regulations on which the police acts are already enacted by the government or by the head, the president, and he doesn't have to do anything directly. So the relationship is more or less only between the police and the citizens. The president, of course, is the supreme controller, but it's not that he's doing everything independently. So when a thief gets caught by a police and beaten, it's not the president who's beating him, it is the police force, because the thief broke the law. So similarly, our suffering that we're experiencing here, it's not that Krishna or God, he's there and he's punishing us, It's not like this. We are simply getting the reaction of our past sinful activities, that's all. So we should not blame the Lord for this, because these laws are already there. He made them. He didn't make them to punish us. He made them to help us to get back to our original position. Because the spirit soul is not satisfied with the limited sphere of the material world. Why do we all feel dissatisfaction in the present moment, being restrained, having so many, curfew, house, quarantine, all these things? We don't like this. Why? Because spirit is not supposed to be limited. So the spirit spark, part and parcel of God, he's supposed to be enjoying without limits. He's supposed to be enjoying without any restrictions, any rules upon him. For those of you who believe in Shastra, the Shastra states that in the spiritual world, you can get whatever you want. Where does this desire come from? That I wish I had what I want. There was even an old acquaintance of mine recently, which I had a conversation with. And he had this crazy philosophy of some guy who's trying to invent a society where everything is made by robots. And that whatever you want, you simply order it and the robot will make it for you, whatever you want. Let's say you want a nice car, the fastest car. The robots will make it, you can use it and then put it back there. Anyway, some crazy, crazy fellow idea. But where does that come from? That desire to want whatever we want. So it's there in the spiritual world. But the condition there, or not the condition, the eternal function of the living entity there is clear. And it's to render service to Krishna, because I am not the source of my very own existence. What I'm experiencing now, I did not create. What I'm seeing outside, it was there long before my birth. I am part of that existence. So what is that existence? That existence is the existence of Brahman, Krishna. It's existence of God. We are part of his life. What we're experiencing now is his life. It's his existence. But we are experiencing it from a point of view of ignorance. We are experiencing it thinking that we're separate from it. This is the I'm here and I have my little independence, let me do what I want. That independent mentality is the misuse of our free will. And this is why we're suffering. Because we think ourselves independent. There's no question of independence. If I eat too much, I get stomachache. If I do too much sport, I get loose joints. If someone has too much sex, he gets tuberculosis. In this way, there's so much restrictions, yet we think ourselves independent. We think that we're the controller. Ahankara vimudatama kartahamiti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities, which are in fact enacted by the three modes of material nature. We are not the doer of everything that is happening. If we were, we would be getting the exact result that we want, but we're not. So here, Dhalbya Rishi is taking compassion for all these spirit souls that are here in the material world, that are rotting and that are forced. Here it is said, when the spirit soul comes in contact with the material energy, he immediately begins to perform sinful activities. He is forced, such as stealing, killing, and illicit sex. So all these things that people are doing, they have no other choice. They must act like this. They become madmen. Because there are two controlling potencies. There is the internal potency of the Lord, which will make us dance for his pleasure. And there's the external potency of the Lord, which will make us dance so that we bring displeasure to other living entities. We become tools in the hand of the police force. How Maya works, she uses us to hurt one another. Even though we might be family member, we might be persons who are hurting each other the most. It is not uncommon that sister and brothers, or even husband and wife, or sons are the person that create the most suffering for us. It is there. Sometimes a son might be the cause of so much suffering for the father, whereas an unknown person in the street is just neutral. So in this way, we are tools in the hands of material nature. She is using us to punish us. So we are forced to act sinfully. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that the Supreme Lord, he speaks as a third person about himself. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the beginning, Krishna does like this. He says the Supreme Lord does not see anyone sinful or pious. He doesn't think that anybody is sinful or that anybody is pious. But then he said the bewildered spirit soul, however, sees like this. So I'm not quoting the exact translation, but this is the meaning here. So the bewildered soul, he sees, oh, this is a sinful person, this is a pious person, because he's accustomed to identify the living entity with the material body. So when he sees the display of material activities performed by a specific body, he thinks that this is the living entity acting. But Krishna says that this type of intelligence is an intelligence in the mode of passion. So that is not correct. A Brahma-bhuta personality or Krishna himself do not see like this. They do not actually consider someone to be sinful. Even the killer of a Brahmana, he's not actually sinful, because he's not the sinful body. The spirit soul is forced to experience a sinful body. When someone kills a Brahmana, the punishment there is that that spirit soul is forced to experience a Brahmana killing body. So Dhalbya Rishi is very compassionate and he's asking to Pulastya Muni. Let us continue. Pulastya Muni replied, sorry, not Pulastya, Pulastya. Pulastya Muni replied, O fortunate one, you have asked me an important and confidential question, which not even Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva or Indra has ever asked. Please listen very carefully to my answer. Now, to speak of Vishnu as being almost on the same level as Brahma, Shiva and Indra, this is a trend in other Puranas. Because Krishna says, for one who desires to worship other demigods, I make his faith steady, so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. In other words, Krishna, through the Vedas, will play in the mind of a specific demigod worshipper, so that he will come to his own conclusion that you see here Vishnu is spoken of as this, and that, so that he will see, oh, then I have to worship Lord Shiva, or I have to worship Indra, or whatever. So the Lord does like this. Now, it's not possible to Vishnu that he has not asked this question, because the very fact that Dhalbya Rishi is asking this question means Vishnu must have spoken it in the first place. Because everything which we are saying is there in the Mahat-tattva, material sounds. Every Mahat-tattva is the sum total of material intelligence. Everything that is created, that is said, that is heard, that is touched, that is felt, that is tasted, that is seen, that is acted, it's all there already in the Mahat-tattva. It's the blueprint of material existence. And spiritual inquiries are already there in Brahman. And Brahman is the source of all spiritual activities. So it's already there. So it's not possible that Dhalbya Rishi says something that Vishnu has not said, because that very intelligence that comes from Lord Vishnu within the heart, Paramatma. So God is giving you the intelligence to say that question. How can he have not said it? Here, of course, Pulastya Muni is speaking in a more, a small window, that Lord Vishnu may be in this universe at that particular time, from the beginning of this particular creation, has not said like this. So let us continue. With the arrival of the month of Magh, which is January, February, one should bathe, carefully control his senses by giving up lust, anger, pride, jealousy, fault-finding and greed, and meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. One should then gather up some cow dung before it touches the ground, and after mixing it with sesame seeds and cotton, form 108 balls. This should be done on the day when the constellation of Purvashadha Nakshatra arrives. Then one should follow the rules and regulation of Ṣaṭ-tilā Ekādaśī, which I shall now explain to you. So we read these Ekadashi stories just to give us an impetus to try to follow to the best of our capability. We don't read these stories so that you start following all of this. Who can follow this? You have to get some cow dung before it touches the ground. Can you do this? I mean, you might be able to do it. You might be living with cows. It shouldn't be too hard for you. But most of us don't live with cows. So all these rules and regulations, or ways of performing different festivals that are mentioned in the Shastra, it is so hard to do now. Because in this Kali Yoga, in the very first chapter of Bhagavatam, it is said that people are always under miserable conditions. They're always disturbed. There's so many causes of disturbance always. So how can you, in a disturbed world where we are forced to work so hard and we have very little time just to maintain the family, we are seen as Daksha, right? Daksha, a great materialist man, very expert in household affairs, expert in maintaining, hundreds of children. So in this age, because it's so embarrassing, because there's so much constraints and so many things disturbing our daily lives, it is even hard just to maintain 1 or 2 children. So what to speak of gathering cow dung and mixing it with sesame seeds and cotton, forming 108. I'm not saying it's impossible. If you can do it, you can try. So cow dung before it touches the ground, mix it with sesame seeds and cotton, you make 108 balls. We continue. After bathing, the person who intends to observe Ekadashi should worship the Supreme Lord. while praying to Lord Sri Krishna by chanting his holy name. He should promise to observe the Ekadashi fast. He should then He should then remain awake overnight and perform a homa, a fire sacrifice. Then the devotee should perform an arti ceremony for the pleasure of the Lord, who holds a conch, disc, club, and so on in his hands, offering him sandalwood paste to his feet, incense, camphor, a bright ghee lamp, and delicious food preparations. Okay, so again, remaining awake throughout the night. This is very common in all Ekadashi, not all Ekadashi stories, but many of them emphasize on remaining awake overnight. And it is a fact that performing such austerity would definitely give one's a boost in one's spiritual life, if we can speak like this. We know some devotees who have done so. We have tried also once. So if you can do, of course, as we have said earlier, it is very hard to sometimes follow very strictly. So here are some items to offer to the Lord, right? Sandalwood paste to his lotus feet, incense, camphor, bright lamp, okay? Next, the devotee should offer the 108 balls of cow dung, sesame seeds, and cotton wool into the sacred fire while chanting such holy names of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Throughout the whole day and night, he should also observe the standard Ekadashi fast, which in this case is a fast from all kinds of grains and beans. On this occasion, one should offer the Lord pumpkin, coconut, and guava. If these items are unavailable, betel nut may be substituted. The devotee should pray to Lord Sri Janardana, the benefactor of all living beings. In this way, O Lord Sri Krishna, you are the most merciful personality of Godhead and the giver of liberation to all fallen souls. Okay, in this way, sorry, my intonations were improper. So in this way, we should pray like this. O Lord Sri Krishna, you are the most merciful personality of Godhead and the giver of liberation to all fallen souls. O Lord, we have fallen into the ocean of material existence. Please be kind to us. O Lotus-eyed divinity, please accept our most humble, affectionate, and respectful obeisances. O protector of the entire world, we offer you our humble respects again and again. O Supreme Spirit, O Supreme One, O source of all our forefathers, may you and your eternal consort, Srimati Lakshmi Devi, please accept these humble offerings. So very humble prayer before offering the prasadam and the 108 cow dung balls. The devotee should then try to please a qualified brahmana with a warm welcome, a pot full of water, an umbrella, a pair of shoes and clothes, requesting him at the same time to bestow his blessings, by which one may develop unalloyed love for Lord Sri Krishna. According to one's ability, one may also donate a black cow to such a brahmana, particularly to one who is very well versed in all the injunctions of the Vedic scriptures. One should also offer him a pot full of sesame seeds. So Prabhupada has simplified this. You give to the temple. You give to the preachers. That is the real donation in this age. Because brahmana, where is the brahmana? Where is the brahmana who's actually studying Shastra, teaching Shastra, not a corrupted form of it, living of charity, giving charity, performing deity worship, teaching deity worship, sense control, study of the Vedas, right? Application, practical, no speaking lies, simplicity, tolerance. All these things are qualities of a bona fide brahmana. So Srila Prabhupada is creating such brahmana preachers. And if one wants his money to be well used, in a very good mood, out of duty, understanding that he's earning money, he should spend some to propagate this Krishna consciousness, he should donate to a temple, to a preacher, in this way. So one should also offer him a full pot of sesame seeds. O exalted Dalbhya Muni, black sesame seeds are especially suitable for formal worship and fire sacrifices, while white or brown ones are meant to be eaten by a qualified brahmana. This is a good thing to remember. So black sesame seeds for throwing in the fire, white and brown to be eaten. One who can arrange to give both kinds of sesame seeds, black and white or brown, especially on this Ṣaṭ-tilā Ekādaśī day, will be promoted to at least the heavenly planets after leaving this present body, for as many thousands of years as the number of seeds that would be produced if the seeds he donated were sown in the ground and grew into mature seed-bearing plants. Wow. Okay, so of course, I don't want to be encouraging you to want to go to heaven. This is not the goal, because when you go there, you come back again. And there's also problems there. There's envy, there's rivalry, fear of death, it's all there. But here it is said, you give a pot of sesame seed to a bona fide Brahmana. If each of these seeds were sown and a plant would bear, how many seeds that plant would bear, that is the amount of years you would remain in heaven. On this Ekadashi, a faithful person should bathe in the water mixed with sesame seeds, rub sesame seed paste on his body, offer sesame seeds into the fire and sacrifice, eat sesame seeds. Wait a second. Okay, on this Ekadashi, a faithful person should bathe in the water. On this Ekadashi, it's saying, mixed with sesame seeds. So bathe in water with sesame seeds in it. If you wish to, rub sesame seed paste on his body, offer sesame seeds into the fire, eat sesame seeds. So I thought that we cannot eat sesame seeds, but it seems that on this Ekadashi, it says we can. Give sesame seeds away in charity. Accept charitable gifts of sesame seeds. These are the 6 Sat ways in which sesame seeds, Tila, are utilized for spiritual purification on this Ekadashi. Therefore, it is called Ṣaṭ-tilā Ekādaśī. Here we go, we have the meaning of this word, Sat. So 6 ways that the sesame seeds are used. Bathe in water that has sesame seeds. Rub sesame seed paste on his body. Offer sesame seeds into the fire and sacrifice. Eat sesame seeds. Give sesame seeds away in charity, and accept charitable gifts of sesame seeds. The great Devarshi Naradaji once asked the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, Almighty Armed Lord, O you who are so affectionate to your loving devotees, please accept my most humble obeisances. O Yadava, kindly tell me the result one obtains by observing Ṣaṭ-tilā Ekādaśī. So now Pulastya Muni is referring to a previous occurrence when Sri Naradaji asked this question to Krishna. He's asking, tell me the result one obtains by observing Ṣaṭ-tilā Ekādaśī. Lord Sri Krishna replied, O best of the twice born, I shall narrate to you an account of an incident I personally witnessed. Long ago on earth there lived an old female Brahmini who worshipped me every day with controlled senses. She very faithfully observed many a fast, especially on special days honoring me, and served me with full devotion. Devoid of any personal motive. Her rigorous fasting made her quite weak and thin. She gave charity to brahmanas and to young maidens, and even planned to give away her house in charity. Wow, such a pious lady. She was giving everything, and she even thought of giving away her house. So this idea that women cannot advance in Krishna consciousness, it's foolish, They can also advance. Of course, the general rule is that they should be advancing in Grihastha ashram, married, under the guidance of an expert husband, O best of the Brahmanas, although this spiritually minded woman gave charitable donations to worthy people, the odd feature of her austerity was that she never gave food to a Brahmanas or to demigods. So she was so charitable, but she never gave to Brahmanas or demigods. Please excuse me, I'm lacking sleep these days. So she never gave food in charity to Brahmana or demigods. Okay. I began to reflect on this curious omission. This fine woman has purified herself by fasting on all the auspicious occasions and by offering me strict devotional worship. Therefore, she certainly has become eligible to enter my personal abode, which is unattainable by ordinary persons. So I came down to this planet to examine her, disguising myself as a follower of Lord Shiva's, complete with a garland of skulls draped around my neck and a begging pot in my hand. So the Lord came disguised as a devotee of Lord Shiva, right? Garland of skulls, real paka devotee of Lord Shiva with the skulls and all them skulls, and begging pot in his hand. As I approached her, she said to me, "O respectful one, tell me truthfully why you have come before me." I replied, "O beautiful one, I have come to get some sacred alms from you." Whereupon she angrily threw a dense lump of mud into my begging pot. O Narada Muni, I simply turned around and went back to my personal abode. Astonished at this fine Brahmani's peculiar mixture of great magnanimity and stinginess. So on one hand, she was so magnanimous that she, so much austerity she was doing, so much fasting, worshipping the Lord, giving so much charity, even her house she wanted to give, but not to Brahmanas or demigods. At last this austere lady reached the spiritual world in her self-same body. So great were her efforts at fasting and charity. And because she had indeed offered me a lump of mud, I transformed that mud into a beautiful home. However, O Naradaji, this particular house was just like that mud, completely devoid of any edible grains, as well as any furniture or ornamentation. And when she entered it, she found only an empty structure. She therefore approached me and said with great anger, "I have fasted repeatedly on so many auspicious occasions, making my body weak and thin. I have worshipped you and prayed to you in so many different ways for you are truly the master and protector of all the universes. Yet despite all this, there is no food or wealth to be seen in my new home. O Janardana, please tell me, why is this?" So when I read stories like this concerning how devotees sometimes go to the spiritual world, Vaikuntha Loka, even though their devotional activities do not seem to be pure, right? This is something I've pondered upon, that is it easier to go to the Vaikuntha planets than Krishna Loka, Because Krishna Loka is definitely just for pure devotees, those who are completely freed from any tinge of material desire and who are freed from any awe and reverence. So I cannot speculate on this, on how she went to the spiritual sky in her same self body. It's translated here, so that's not possible. I mean, of course, sometimes we hear this about heaven. They go to heaven in the same self body, like Arjuna did. But about the spiritual world, because in the spiritual world, all women form are expansion of. They look like Lakshmi. They are Lakshmis, and all male form are all Vishnus. Vishnu forms. So if one becomes liberated and he has a male form, he's eternally looking like Lord Vishnu. He has got 4 arms, just like Jai and Vijaya, the gatekeepers of Vaikuntha. They look exactly like Vishnu, except a tuft of hair on the chest that they don't have. And the women look just like Lakshmi Devi. So anyway, so she approached the Lord and she asked why I don't have anything in my house. Let us continue. All right, so I replied, "Please return to your house. Sometime later, the wives of the demigods will pay you a visit out of curiosity to see the new arrival. But do not open your door until they have described to you the glories and importance of Ṣaṭ-tilā Ekādaśī." Again, the wives of the demigods. So I've heard somewhere, I think it was Tadavit Prabhu once in a lecture, that he said that there are forms of demigods also there in the spiritual world that are eternal. There is an eternal Ganesh, there is an eternal Lord Shiva, etc. This I know nothing about, and I don't want to speculate. I have not read this in Prabhupada's book so far, so I'm not going to venture into this. Let us just read the story for the moment. Okay. So hearing this, she returned to her house. Eventually the demigod's wives arrived there, and in union said, "O beautiful one, we have come to have your darshana. O auspicious one, please open the door to your house and let us see you." The lady replied, "O most dear ones, if you want me to open this door, you will have to describe to me the merit one obtains by observing the sacred fast of Ṣaṭ-tilā Ekādaśī." But to this request, not even one of the wives responded. Later, however, they returned to the house, and one of the wives nicely explained the sublime nature of the sacred Ekadashi. And when the lady at last opened her door, they saw that she was neither a demigoddess, a Gandharvi, a she-demon, nor even a Nagapatni. She was simply an ordinary human lady. So here she has, still her same human form. From then on, the lady observed Ṣaṭ-tilā Ekādaśī, which awards material enjoyment and liberation at the same time, as it has been described to her, and she finally received the beautiful furnishings and grains she had expected for her home. Moreover, her once ordinary material body was transformed into a beautiful spiritual form with a fine complexion. So here it is, spiritual body. So by the mercy and grace of Ṣaṭ-tilā Ekādaśī, both the lady and her new home in the spiritual world were at last radiantly splendid and lustrous with gold, silver, jewels, and diamonds. So I do not know if the translation here of spiritual world is accurate. Is it really Vaikuntha, or is it one of the highest heaven? Anyway, O Naradaji, a person should not ostentatiously observe Ekadashi out of greed with the hope of attaining wealth dishonestly. Selflessly, he should simply donate sesame seed, clothes, and food according to his capacity. For by doing so, he will achieve good health and exalted spiritual consciousness, birth after birth. Ultimately, he will be given release from the bonds of this material world, and admittance into the Lord's supreme abode will be his to enjoy. That is my opinion, O best of the demigods. So you see, so we should not try to get material wealth in a dishonest manner on Ekadashi, and just let me give some money, I'm going to enjoy. And so no, we should do it out of duty. Okay? And yes, we will definitely get both here. The Lord says material and spiritual rewards. O Dalbhyamuni, Pulastya Rishi concluded, one who properly observes this wonderful Ṣaṭ-tilā Ekādaśī with great faith become free from all kinds of poverty, spiritual, mental, physical, social, and intellectual, as well as all kinds of ill luck and evil omens. Indeed, following this Ekadashi fast by donating, sacrificing, or eating sesame seeds frees one of all past sins, without a doubt. One need not wonder how this happens. The rare soul who properly performs these acts of charity in the right devotional mood, following the Vedic injunctions, will become utterly free of all sinful reactions and go back to Godhead, back home to the spiritual world. Thus ends the Vrajavasi narration of the glories of Magh Krishna Ekadashi, or Ṣaṭ-tilā Ekādaśī, from the Bhaviṣya-uttara Purāṇa. So we hope you have enjoyed this narration. So definitely closely related to sesame seeds. Sat, 6 ways of using sesame seed on this most auspicious day. So Prabhupada has definitely simplified everything for us. That we fast from grain and we increase our devotional activities on this day. Best thing is to fast completely, nirjal fast, no food, no water. That is the best. Now there was some discussion whether we could eat Ekadashi seeds today or not. Some devotees said no, but here from Shastra we said that we can. Now, did Prabhupada introduce this? I don't think he did. He pretty much gave one main guideline for all Ekadashis. He never said on this Ekadashi particularly you do this, you do that, you do this. Of course, there's the only one that stands out is the Pandava Ekādaśī or Nirjala Ekādaśī, where if you completely fast on this day without even food and water, it is equal as observing all the other 24 Ekādashis of the year. So that one stands out in the devotee community. But definitely others are pretty much all of the same. There's also the Putra Ekādaśī, people who want to have sons, they fast completely on this Ekādaśī. So we hope you have enjoyed this Ekādaśī story. If you have any question, you can post in the comment below. There was one question previously asked by one devotee who said that actually there are two Putra Ekādaśī. And yes, before he asked that, I could not even realize this. But it's a fact, there's two Putra Ekādaśī. So there's two Ekādashis that if we observe, it will help us to beget a son. So I did look at this, and it's a fact, there's two Putra Ekādaśī. Now, both of them also have a different name, another name. So the answer is simply that yes, there's two Ekādaśī that are good for bearing male child. But they are not the same Ekādaśī. They share that name, Putra Ekādaśī, but each Ekādaśī has 2 or 3, sometimes even 4 different names. So it's not the same Ekādaśī. But it does happen twice in a year. So if you have any other question, please leave it in the comment below. Also subscribe, share. That will help us very much. So thank you very much. We hope you have had a nice Ekādaśī day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.